everybody. Welcome to the Planning and Highways Committee meeting on this day, Thursday 19th of July. Firstly, a brief health and safety introduction. We are not expecting a fire drill, but if the alarm does sound, please make your way to the nearest fire exit. The emergency exit at the back of the chambers will take you across the room, down the fire escape. Take care as this may be slippery if wet. Or you can exit the way you enter the building through the police station and out of the front door. If it's not possible to get to an exit, then the lift lobby is a safety zone in the event of a fire. Under no circumstances should the lift be used. Please make sure that all mobile phones and devices are switched off or on silent. Any individual wishing to video or audio record the meeting may do so from the seats reserved at the front of the public gallery. I must inform you that this meeting is being videoed by the Council and will be uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel. Please remember anyone wishing to speak in the public participation part of the meeting should raise their hand and wait for me as chair to gesture for you to speak. You will be given a maximum of 4 minutes to make your representation, which should be aimed at me as chair. Through me as chair, members officers may then respond to your point if necessary. You will not automatically be able to reply unless I as chair allow you to do so. The full public participation policy and other helpful policies are available from the document holder in the public gallery. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. Anyone present felt to be behaving unacceptably will be ejected from the meeting by the chair. Any member of the public looking to leave the meeting should wait for the council officer to escort them out of the building. Thank you. So we had to do that. Right. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence.
Thank you. There are apologies now from Councillor Jim Lord, Councillor Penny Lower and Councillor Alan Nathan.
Thank you. Item 2, disclosure of interest. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosure for pecuniary interests and interests other than pecuniary interests as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and Localism Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. Just myself, the LDC, Civil Planning Applications Committee.
Thank you.
Item 3, public participation. In accordance with Standing Order 3 and the Seaford Town Council policy, members of the public will be entitled to speak on general issues concerning this committee on non-planning application matters at this point. People wishing to speak on planning applications may do so immediately after each planning application is announced. Any members of the public? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to just ask if there's an update on the neighbourhood plan at all.
Yes.
Hi there, can you tell me your name please?
Yes, John Newton.
No.
Oh, we don't need to know it though, I don't need to know it anymore, as long as you're a resident.
Yes, I am, yeah.
That's fine, sorry. Yes, obviously you'll be keeping an eye on the neighbourhood plan website, that's where most of the information and updates will be put. I mean, at this stage, still with the professionals at Lewis,
Right.
there's still many aspects of it being looked at, there's still issues that need to be sort of concreted out with different drafts being another draft I think is being sort of looked at this stage.
Okay.
So when that becomes a bit more clear, it'll be advertised in the correct way.
Right. There was some outside consultation going on, wasn't there? So just don't know what that.
Yeah,
consultation
we're not
is.
quite sure if that's completed or we're not quite sure. There's issues, there are issues there which need sort of looked at by the professionals because there's no point getting it to a state where it's not going to be ready for the planning when it goes to the planning inspector when they come down. So it's getting it's a stage before it's still at the moment. I mean, there's obviously it has to be looked at by various people. I think someone else has had a look at it externally, can weigh for everything, to look at all the different aspects and all the distances between all the different types of sites, all the different sorts of, the local green spaces and everything. It's all been looked at, again, just to make sure to see that the draft and the sustainability report sort of stacks up, really.
Right.
But these things take time, don't they? When there's hundreds of pages to look at.
Is it also to check whether it's in compliance with the local plan as well? What ties up with that?
That is part of it, yeah, that is part of it, because it can't override what Lewis Districts say or the county council, so that has to be sort of, that's another stage, and the national park as well, isn't it? Yeah, so it'll all be looked at, that will all be looked at.
So you can't see what they're doing work-wise, then?
No, we're not.
It's all going on.
I'm not professional.
No.
We're lay people here on the
Sure.
on the Asbestos Planning Committee. So, and I just have to be one of the members. I think Councillor Finn was going to go back on it a bit for future for the next stage. So, just I hope that's helped anyway. But
Yeah, so
it hasn't been forgotten about.
No, but in the next sort of month, do you think we might hear? No.
Don't know. It's holiday period as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? And it's
Also, I mean, the fact is we've got to make sure everything's exactly right.
Sure.
Because if anything's even slightly wrong, it might all get thrown out, which would be a complete waste of, 2 or 3 years of
it's hardly 2 years now.
So we're really sort of fine-tuning everything to make sure it's written in the right sort of legalese words.
Okay.
You know, so I'm saying, well, we think this, it's got to be a lot more words than that,
Sure. Yeah.
if you follow what I'm saying.
Okay.
But we're just got to make sure everything is exactly spot on. And that, then we've got the final thing and it can go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that.
I think this is how because it makes the public feel that there's nothing going on,
Indeed,
but
yeah.
there is, because as you say, as both Councillor Honeyman and Freeman have said, it's got to be exactly right, otherwise it'll just get thrown out and you've got 3 years wasted work. So
Yeah, a lot of neighbourhood plans are just dealing with quite small villages, and they're much more straightforward. Where this neighbourhood plan is more complex because it deals with quite a large town. It's the largest town in the district. So as neighbourhood plans go, it's on the more complex side. Most neighbourhood plans that have been adopted already have been for places like Wivelsfield or Chailey or something like that, which obviously don't require so much scrutiny.
thank you. Any other questions?
Are you aware that the East Sussex County Council haven't dispensed of having to clear up all the grass cuttings because of the fire hazard? They haven't picked it all up because of the because it's so long, everything cut down.
Yes.
It's a fire hazard now, so Burley's are having to pick it all up for them.
Yes. I mean,
The firm that cut it, they refused to do it, so they've got Burley's, the contractors, to do it now. They're doing it all over Denton Corners, as they were speaking to me.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so it's more expensive. They could have done it properly in the first place. Wouldn't have been so much grass.
Yeah. I have certainly raised it with the Sussex that it's a fire hazard, and also when we do get some rain, it's going to block up the drains as well.
Wind blows it into the drain. But I was speaking to the gentleman today from Burley's.
Yeah.
They got to pick her up or something. But the point is, it's only a sort of domestic one, and it won't go over the side lorry to put into the lorry. So they're making it harder for them. So.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Right. Moving on to the planning applications. Weekend in the 22nd of June. LW/1A/0466, 15 Highlands Road. Any members of the public would like to comment on this application? So it's open to the committee. Councillor Hunter?
I mean, thank you, Chair. I think as far as I can see, it's going to be a main room as opposed to a showroom in that converted garage. I think that's the main difference, if I see. Unless I've read otherwise. Is that how everyone else sees it? I'm sure everyone else.
Yeah, it's more or less than the application of the previous one as far as external looks.
Because it's a renewal, there's little.
Not much difference inside really, as I say, just that bedroom as opposed to showering in there as well.
Yeah.
But it's been approved before, I'd propose it even.
Propose approval, recommend approval. Councillor.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on it? So can I have a show of hands of supporting this application?
Thank you.
South Downs National Park application, weekend in the 26th of June. SDNP stroke 18 stroke 0144 stroke FUL, Cropwell Farm of Bristol Road. Any members of the public like to comment on this application? Open to the committee. Councillor Freeman.
I think without any question we should support this.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Any other questions? No? So can I have a show of hands of supporting this application? Carried. Planning applications weekend in the 29th of June, we received none. Planning applications weekend in the 6th of July, again, we received none. And then we've got Tree Works application for South Downs National Park, which is SDNP stroke 1H stroke 03303 stroke TCA, Bishopstone Place, the street, Bishopstone Village. Any members of the public like to comment on this application? Open to the committee. Councillor Elton.
Thank you. I haven't had time to go up there and have a look at it, but the sycamore seems reasonable to pay the sycamore. There's sort of two a penny really, and sort of particularly interesting trees. And if the elm tree is going to benefit from that, I think it's a good idea. So, and coppicing sycamores is just generally not a bad idea either. So, from what I've heard, they sort of look after the woodland quite well. So, I'd support this application.
Under seconded. Councillor Freeman. Yeah, I know this area very well, and it is a very well managed woodland site. And I know one of the sycamores, which is by St Andrew's driveway, is in a very poor condition. So, yeah. So can I have a show of hands of supporting this application? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Item 5 on your agenda, Newland School Development.
There's a lengthy report, because it's quite a lengthy agreement that's put together that brings out the main points, but also draw your attention to the note that's been circulated this evening. The town clerk, he came back on Monday, so not able to contribute to the report that was circulated with the agenda last week, but it's added comments, and I think there's obviously a need to make it clear to Lewes District Council, firstly, that there should be no move to reduce the number of the percentage of affordable housing, and to notify us as the town council if there is any move, because it should be dealt with by their planning applications committee, and we will be entitled to address the committee if there were an application for any reason, mostly financial, the reasons that come up. But if there was any reason the developers brought forward to suggest that it wasn't viable for them to provide a development with 40% affordable housing. It has happened around the country recently, a number of developers on other sites, and if there is a prospect of it happening on this site, we would want to know as soon as anything came up. And also, as the note makes clear, currently we as town council are responsible for, and in fact owns sports pitches, are responsible for their management and booking, as well as play areas as well. We're responsible for inspection of play areas. And there's no reference in this agreement, and there was no liaison with our Sosa Town Council prior to the agreement being concluded. So, but we would hope that the idea was that as soon as Lewes District Council took the transfer of these areas, that they would be passed on to us. But we do want to make sure that that is the case, and we want to make sure also that we are involved in all the stages of discussions of the community use agreement, which because there are various matters confirmed in this agreement, but there are various other matters that are simply agreements to agree something later. The community use agreement of the sports facilities is one of the things that will be discussed from now, or once a developer is nominated, has purchased the site. And we want to make it clear to Lewes that we should be involved from that point. And also that there is an intention that we should continue, as we do now, to the new sports pitches should be added to the pitches that we already administer under arrangements from Lewes. So it's really making those points, because we haven't been involved so far in the negotiation of the agreement, making those points to Lewes, and also any other comments which members may have on the report, which is sort of mainly factual, just bringing out the main points of the agreement. I've got a hard copy of the agreement here if there are any queries about it. I should have, yeah. So that's all I have to say in introducing it anyway, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just a comment Councillor Freeman made earlier, which I thought was worth pointing out. You're probably going to mention it, but does it have to be a football pitch? Can it not be a sort of pitch for other sports as well?
I think,
was it solely for football?
Yes, it is football, because the dimensions are specified. The standard dimensions of a football pitch is 110 by 70,
Yeah.
and they're specified in the agreement.
Can it be a multi-part? I don't know.
Multi-use.
One thing what springs to my mind is hockey
Yeah.
Well,
as a field sport.
I suppose you can't specify dimensions of all sports. I suppose you just specify dimensions of a football pitch, and the other sports can fit in. It was geared towards football, but I think, thinking back in the last years of Newlands School, I think most of the usage of their sports pitches, when they threw them open to the public to get more revenue, it was for Sunday football, for youth football, things like that. In the years up to, say, 2015 when it closed. And we used the argument on the planning application, that junior football clubs have come to depend on it as their base. It's some even from Newhaven, because of the shortage of sports pitches.
Right.
And so, their base would be taken away, if the sports pitches weren't replaced. I think it was mainly football.
Yeah, on Football England, didn't they?
Sports England.
Sports England.
Yeah, yes, Sports England put in a formal objection in the end, which had to be dealt with before consent could be granted.
I mean, I don't know if it would disadvantage anything if we, asked for it as to
Well, I think,
sports
yeah,
area.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
if we were to get an involvement in the community use agreement, which is specified in here as having to be concluded before the development goes ahead, it's not set out in here. If we can get involved in that, then that obviously can come into that. We could make sure that it's available for other sports.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. As I say, it's the dimensions are as a full-size football pitch, which is 110 by 70. I'm ploughing through all the pages to see if I can find it, but I do recall seeing it somewhere in the parts relating to the sports pitches and play areas. I found it. It's full time. It doesn't say football, But it says a full-size 11v11 pitch measuring 105 by 70 yards, which is a football pitch.
Yeah,
What's that mean to us?
that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we have more need of a piece of land that can be varied in its use. I mean, we've got how many football pitches in Seaford now? There's a couple at the school, aren't there? There's some in the Salts, there's the Crouch Gardens. Is there anything that changes?
Salts is rugby.
Yeah,
You've got the Crouch, which is
yeah.
Seaford Town Football Club.
The Downs Leisure is multi-purpose. really.
Yeah.
It's not a full
I
picture.
think purpose would be far more use, so that not just football be played, but
So during the summer months,
as I said,
I'm
hockey
sure-
as well.
I'm sure they'd be adaptable, but it does say standards prescribed by the Football Association, because I say it was used for football prior to its closure. But, having said that, there's no reason why other sports can't use it. It just won't be up to the standards required by, it'll only be up to the standards required by the Football Association.
you wouldn't be able to play cricket in the summer.
And it will also be grass, so it won't be
All
as much.
rounders.
It won't be all weather, so
Yeah.
whereas hockey nowadays, most hockey played on all weather surfaces.
That's true. It was just a suggestion.
Yeah.
But, you know, it seems a shame just to focus on the one sport. And there are many other sports that people might like to take part in.
Not everyone plays football, do they?
No, I mean, tennis courts, we
Mostly.
haven't really got enough tennis courts, have we?
Although we're having, the North Tennis Association is working with Tony,
Yeah.
the sports manager,
Mm.
on, resurfacing the tennis courts in the Salts at the
Yeah.
moment. That's an ongoing thing. Like I said at Community Services last week, that it's not every family can support a youngster going
I
to a
know,
club.
I know.
You can have volunteer coaches down there.
It's just, I like to see more variety in the sports on
Yeah.
offer. You know, the total concentration seems to be on football, and there are other sports.
I think the size of the ground also has its limitations.
Yes, we're not going to get any more.
Structuring that sports or athletics or
Things
else.
springs to mind, we can put it forward.
Yeah. The main thing is to get foot in the door,
Yeah.
as far as the use agreement is concerned.
Yes. Did I see Robert?
Yeah, just one thing, if Jeff can ask a question in the sense of, okay, it's more, it would be the management of the pictures, because obviously LDC will still own the whatever's there, if it was. But it's obviously, it's very close to Downs Leisure Centre, isn't it? And with their facilities, so it doesn't mean to say they want to manage it, would it? Would Wave want to manage that? Is that
Well, we need to find out what LDC have in mind, really, because they haven't liaised with us at all. We're hoping and assuming that as an outdoor grass sports pitch,
Yeah.
it will be dealt with as all the other grass sports pitches are at the moment,
Right.
which is through, it's owned and maintained by us through the bookings. I think it's taken through Burley's,
Yep.
and it works quite well. And it would favour us if, obviously, as the town council, if we could do that. I think, obviously, there's no question of the all-weather pitches at the Downs being part of Downs Leisure, but I can't really see any reason why, just because it's a quarter of a mile or so away, that, because it's a grass pitch and it'll have different sorts of use. It'll have the same kind of use as the pitches we already deal with. So it can be lumped in with them. But as I said, we need to know what Lewis District has in mind, because if they're consistent, then these pitches should be transferred to us. And
Yeah.
it would have been far easier if there'd been provision to transfer them to the town council within the agreement, rather than being transferred to Lewis and then on to us. So we want to find out exactly what Lewis has in mind with regard to the pictures. It won't be happening for the next year or so, so we've got plenty of time to find out and make sure that these arrangements are put in place,
I mean, I
if
think,
with your support.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, other towns in the district have, Lewis has passed on their
Mm.
sports pitches for them to, look after, which, see, for town council, we've been doing for years.
Mm.
And, so,
Could I quickly come back on, you know, when the Newlands diagrams are all going through on the very early stage, the outline planning maps and
Yeah.
how many properties we might get in there, which obviously included the pictures. I suppose the pictures, were they for illustration purposes only, or are they mean
I think you can take,
legally? That's the,
I think you can take it that the siting of the pictures,
yeah,
it will be as per the outline,
right,
because
Yeah.
there was an important amendment
That's
made to the plans, so that the pictures
That's
acted as a
fine.
buffer between
Yeah.
Sutton Place
some
Yeah.
place, yeah.
and the rest of the housing,
Right.
because Sutton,
Yeah.
because it was a listed building, and the conservation officer objected formally to the original plans because it was sort of hemmed in Sutton Place.
yeah,
Whereas now there'll be a green space, albeit one sometimes used for football, so it'll be entirely peaceful green space, but it will be a buffer between Sutton Place and the rest of the estate, or what you'd like to call it. So I think the reserve matters will deal with the siting of the housing principally. I think you can take it that the football pitch, that the sports pitches will be on that
close to the
left-hand half as you face the old school building from the road. The spine road will be going up the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got any more? Councillor
I was
Green?
going to say, I think we've had the most important thing is that we must see that they
Yep.
don't try and wriggle out of the affordable housing.
So,
That is the most important thing.
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
We want to make that point formally to
Yes,
Lewis.
definitely.
Definitely.
Right, fine.
Could we, I shouldn't really be talking on this, could we ask that the affordable housing can be open to Seaford residents first before it
Yeah.
goes further? Can we do that?
I think there's provision in there for it's not mentioned in the report, but the Lewis District Council will be allowed to nominate tenants. They have what's called a nomination agreement. And so, yes, I mean, it's a point that was validly made to Lewis, but it won't be the housing association that has to go and find its own tenants, whatever registered provider is appointed. It'll be, through this, the Lewis District Council will be able to nominate tenants from its own list, and presumably they'll be from, principally from Seaford. But there's no harm in making that point now.
Thank you.
Mm. Do you want me to make the points about the sport, getting involved in the use agreement discussions and pressing for the sports pitches when they've been completed to be transferred to us? To be
Yeah.
kept? You want to make those points as well?
And about authorising the town clerk to do a press statement
Oh yeah, it's noticed.
to show what the council's position is.
Mentioning that we do definitely
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
this sort of multi-sports area or field, whatever piece of grass it is. And we're very concerned about the affordable housing being retained.
Yeah, and there's that recommendation one there, sports facilities to be transferred to us, and we add to that, which would be involved in the community use agreement discussions, and the play area. As the town clerk has said, we want to make sure that the play area is constructed in such a way that it's worth taking on. So we want to be involved in that as well. And the recommendation 3 is that the play area is transferred to us as soon as it is complete, and we have the say over the design. So, you know, I'll work those recommendations in as well.
So the question for Jeff actually, can the developer wiggle out of not providing that amount of affordable housing?
There's two ways. It's been happening. It's been happening in developments all around the country. In fact, the government actually, in their guidance, invited or set up a system whereby local authorities could assess what were financial viability applications. It was brought about because a lot of developments that have been granted permission maybe 10 years ago might have been sort of given up by one developer, passed on to another. And by the time you get a developer who's actually interested in developing it rather than holding it,
Price is set.
the circumstances have changed and the developer's found, when he's done his sums, the percentage of affordable housing is so high that it doesn't give the developer sufficient profit to justify developing the site. I think, you know, the return that they tend to specify is around about 20%. So the government allowed developers to apply to local authorities to either have the affordable housing provision wiped out or reduced if it was shown by detailed accounts to be not financially viable. And there's been a lot of controversy because there was no requirement on the local authority to actually publish details of the application. The accounts were seen as confidential, so they tended to be done behind closed doors. You know, the council officers would look at the accounts, would get expert advice, discuss it with the developers, and sometimes decisions had to be made to reduce or wipe out affordable housing provisions without really involving members or the public, and it became very controversial.
Why don't we get consulted on that?
Yeah, well, that's what we want to make. You know, that's one of the
Yeah.
things we want to put to the district council. If it shouldn't happen here because it's still privately owned at the moment. It's not one of these sites that's, as I mentioned earlier, that's liable to, you know, to be around for sort of 6 or 7 years before it's developed. Whoever buys this will go into it with their eyes open, and whoever buys it hopefully will be, as it's an attractive development, they'll be intending to develop it rather than just hold it in their land bank. So that's one point. You know, all the obligations are quite clear. They can't say that it's going to be anything's going to be sort of jumped on them because, you know, it's a very comprehensive application. And so whoever offers bids to buy it will be seen to have gone into it with their eyes open, and there'll be less reason for reducing the 40% affordable housing provision. But there is this other aspect called vacant building credit. That's intended to sort of encourage developers to take on brownfield sites or sites with derelict buildings on them and to actually convert those buildings rather than flatten them. I mean, I'm thinking really a typical site would be a lot of old mills up in the north of England have been converted to flats rather than flattened for development. And there, in order to encourage those sites to be converted, and because, you know, land is less valuable in the north, and so there's less encouragement to bring it forward for development. So there's been the introduction of this vacant building credit, where you can actually discount the amount of floor space that you're creating by converting an existing building.
Yeah.
And you know, it's all based on square meterage, and it reduces the. So if say half of the development is in this case, just hypothetically, say half the development was taken up in the old school building, which is being converted. It's not, but then they will be able to halve the provision of affordable housing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but that, in this case, as I mentioned in the report, any application for vacant building credit from the developers will have to be vetted by the Planning Applications Committee of Lewes District Council. It can't and won't be just dealt with by the officers. That's specified in the agreement. So we will be able to have our say if the developer decides that because of the conversion of the old school building, they want to apply for a reduction in the, as I say, I hope that the district council will say, no, it's not appropriate in this case. It's more appropriate, you know, where there's a need, where encouragement is needed to convert the building. In this case, the conversion of the old school building is probably seen as an asset to the development rather than a burden, if you like, because it's an attractive building which is in reasonable condition. Yes, it's going to take some money to convert it, but probably less money than for new build. I don't know, I'm not an expert. But it shouldn't be seen as a burden on the development, so it shouldn't be seen as a reason to reduce the percentage of affordable housing under this vacant building credit ruling. So it's a bit complicated and we don't know whether it's going to happen. We just want to make sure that Lewes District Council know that we're aware of these exemptions, if you like, to put them politely, and that we would want to know as soon as there was any reduction, because the provision of 40% affordable housing was really the main consolation that we took out of the fact that this scheme was approved, you know, against our objections. You know, when it was approved, it was September 17 last year, we said, well, it's going to give us 70 or 80 affordable units, which is obviously good for the town.
No, I asked the question because I remember the Beachcomber developments, how there was supposed to be affordable housing there, and then in the end they said, no, we need it for a car park.
It happens on smaller schemes, you know, where there's not so much of a return. Oh no, this is a larger scheme, and everything should be quite plain. You know, the terms of the agreement are quite clear. It's a large scheme. It will attract a large developer who will have done their homework, hopefully. But, as I say, it's...
What about all the buildings behind the main building? There is an awful lot of buildings, there's a swimming pool, there's...
They're not being reused.
Sports,
yeah.
I mean...
And there's
I know
a sports hall as well.
Some
Shows
can't
over a
be
million.
converted because they were sort of like prefab type buildings, but yeah, there's quite a mixture out back. So,
Yeah.
what you say with that
It only relates to the main building which is being reused.
yeah.
They could say, you know, we've managed to reuse X square metres, and that is Y% of the total area, and we should therefore have a reduction in affordable housing. But as I say, it's more where you need to encourage the reuse of the building. In this case, it's, I think, an asset to the development that you've got with, I think, 40 apartments. It's an attractive building. It's a centrepiece to the development, and you know, so as I say, we would use all those arguments to try and resist it.
Yeah.
The main thing is to get involved, as I said earlier, with the community use agreement. We need to get in early with our interest, if you like, as town council.
Any more comments you want to put forward?
Well, when we talked about the play stuff, the leap stuff, which is similar, isn't it, to the idea of transferring play areas over, isn't it? So again, that's the other recommendation. It will be put down.
Yes, I take it that you support the recommendations from here, and I'll add the other bits that we've discussed. Make sure that the response is sort of comprehensive and mentions everything.
Yeah.
Even the need to think about other sports as well.
Yeah.
Is everybody happy?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I won't be able to sort of trot it all out, but I've got all the different subject headings, so you can assume that I'll get everything in. Okay. Take a long time to go through everything. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Do you want maybe circulate to all members before we put it into
Yeah.
that we've covered?
Yeah, yes, it is important. I just make sure, I will circulate it with, I'll circulate the draft minutes so everyone can have a look. Because
So
there's no-
you've
I'll do that on Tuesday.
happy with doing that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Right, okay, so we move on. I think to town parade, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a
7.
victory really, in that there was a preliminary hearing on the 4th of July, which would normally just be used for assessing how long the full hearing is going to take and finding a vacant slot for the full hearing of the appeal, which would have usually taken place maybe September, October. But in this case, as the report says, it was ruled that the form wasn't submitted within the deadline, so the appeal was thrown out. In that case, the notice comes into immediate effect, although there's a period for compliance that has to be gone through first. There were discussions at the court, the officers and the owners got together and, as it says in the report now, their assurances were given that preparatory works would commence on site by the end of July and that further substantial works would start at the beginning of September, carrying on till February 2019. That's as much detail as we got really, but those assurances were given. If by the end of August these works aren't completed, that's the removal of the scaffolding, then they will be open to prosecution. And if they're prosecuted, they won't be able to argue as to whether the notice is reasonable or not. The notice now is beyond discussion as they lost their right of appeal. So it'll just be a question of whether they've complied with the notice or haven't complied. And if the scaffolding's not down, then they haven't complied with the notice. So it's pretty much black and white, and the pressure's on the developer now to comply.
Councillor Freeman.
Yeah, I suppose they could claim that even if they had a lorry put up there one day and put a few ladders up and some people up and down the ladders, they could say that work had commenced on the site, and then they do nothing more till.
Well, if they play cat and mouse with us, then it's dangerous, because if they commence work, it's got to be a substantial commencement with a view to actually completing the scheme within the normal time. They can't just come and go, and there will be people there like Mrs. Wilson who will be able to log what's going on. If they're only working there for a few hours a week, then I'm sure that Mrs. Wilson and some of the other traders there will be able to look at that and be aware of that, and then we'll be able to show a pattern to Lewes District of the developers are really only playing cat and mouse rather than actually genuinely intending to implement the scheme.
This is what I'm most worried about.
Mm.
They could have a lorry turn up one day, send a few workmen up and down ladders, and they could say works commenced.
They've been very evasive so far, and I wouldn't put anything past them. But this is obviously a step forward because they've lost the chance of appeal and they can't regain that chance of appeal. It's just a question of checking at the end of August, starting to check that something's going on, which will be easy enough for us to do, as well as obviously the residents as well.
Kevin of K&L Jewelers,
Yeah.
keeping very close on.
Yeah, exactly. There's a number of people there. It won't be difficult to collect evidence. The officers can do it themselves just by wandering around the corner and having a regular look. So it does look as if it's a big step forward that they failed to get the appeal in. They have to be given a reasonable time to start, because until the hearing on the 4th of July, they were thinking that there's going to be an appeal and it's going to go on for a few months. And so the local authority has to be seen to be acting reasonably, and Lewes quite rightly say that their priority is to get the work done rather than to sort of punish the developer, which is fine, and so you've got to give them a reasonable time. But we're towards the end of July now, there's only 5 or 6 weeks to go, so we'll be able to check then at the end of August as to what's happening, and so we can assure the residents that that there's things have moved forward at least.
Do you think it might be a good idea if I email Jennifer Baxter on the concerns with Councillor Freeman that, you know, if they start work and start playing cat and mouse, what would be
What can we do?
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be useful.
what would be the legal side on that? See what she comes back with.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Hammond.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, been listening to the discussion there. Just remind me, obviously we've got the tall scaffolding at the moment, so that's going to be used to demolish the, what, one layer, 2 layers?
Yes.
And so some of the scaffolding will come down, but will some scaffolding probably remain for the new development, which the stamp should work? Do you think that could happen?
They've said that demolition, I've got an email here. The word she used in her email was demotion, but I assumed it was demolition. I don't know if you noticed
It
that.
hasn't been emotional.
Yeah.
Substantial at the moment.
Preparatory works will start on site at the end of this month, and that demotion will commence at the beginning of September. So demolition will commence at the beginning of September,
Right.
which is why the scaffolding is there. So as long as there are works being done, even if the scaffolding has to remain while those works are done, then, you know, as long as it's seen to, the scheme is seen to be progressing,
Yeah.
because you can't take away the fact that they've got consent back in 2011, which has been implemented and is still live, to add
To
whatever.
do what they're going to do, yeah, to
exactly.
demolish and then build again. Yeah.
So, you know, if they actually start to implement that scheme, there's nothing we can do about
Right.
it. It's
But
just,
at least it's got a purpose then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Scaffolding.
and they say that the works are estimated to finish in February 2019. Well, that 6-month period is what you normally expect for works at that time. So, you know, all will become clear at the end of August, beginning of September, and we'll just keep very close tabs on them and expect that Lewis District will keep close tabs on them and the residents as soon as we get into September.
Can I ask, what did they make any excuses?
I wasn't at court,
No, I'm just curious, sorry, it doesn't
they
matter.
just missed the deadline.
No, they didn't apologise and make excuses for anything.
No.
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 Why would they?
Just
Yeah, I think
embarrassed us, I think.
the application, which is live at the moment, was 2000, no, there was another one after that.
There's about 3 or 4, wasn't there?
Because
2015 was.
I think it's around about 2015, 16.
I think it's amended, yeah.
If they come through with another planning application, because that one expires,
Well,
see what I'm getting?
We'll be so tempted
So
to
having-
turn it down.
it's been implemented, I mean, what has gone on site is sufficient to keep the consent alive ad infinitum.
Yeah.
So there's no question of expiry once once works have been carried out that aren't sort of minimal works. You know, you can't just sort of put in a couple of blocks of paving or something and say it started. It's got to be something quite substantial. But what they've done to start the scheme is substantial enough to keep it alive ad infinitum.
Because the last application was instead of having a larger apartment, they made it into 2 bedsits. I think that was the alteration, and because it got passed.
Yeah.
And it sort of renewed the application for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, but well, they probably carried out work before then to actually implement the scheme, and that application was probably just to amend the plans that they were going to implement. But there's never, I mean, it's been looked into by Lewis as well as us, and there's no question of it being expired or anything like that, unfortunately.
No, not yet.
The rules on that are quite generous, really.
Yeah. So then, unless there's any other questions, if we note the report, then I'll do an email to Jennifer Baxter, the legal solicitor. And then, agenda item 7, to know the contents of the report. We're in full agreement.
Yes.
If there's any questions.
I think-
Councillor Hammond.
Guess I'm going to comment on them.
Last one.
Yeah.
No, glad they got turned
Well,
down.
not the none one, not where it says none, but you mean the one above.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Buildings, glad they got turned down.
It was an interesting one, Chair, in the sense of that the new bungalow was going to be bigger than the. I think it was more the size of what they wanted to put there was one of the factors, more than the existing house almost, wasn't it? I think if it was a smaller property, it might have moved a bit further in because there are other examples, aren't there, along the road, not too far away. But it's
They didn't seem to like the flint wall being
no, it didn't like that.
for
Didn't
the
like that.
access.
Yeah.
Because the flint walls,
Is
that,
it-
that was mentioned in
Yeah, from the report, yeah, we'll look at that.
Mm.
The impact on the conservation area.
Yeah, I mean, I just put that as a general point, but within the impact on the conservation area was the reduction in the length of the flint wall for the access. And unacceptable, well, it specified the policy that they've still got in the same from an earlier local plan about opposing inappropriate backland development. I think it's ST3 or something, which they used as
They
a.
still use that now for the new.
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
new
yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the district council agreeing with the agreement.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
it's nice.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, no other questions, so no, the report?
Yep.
Okay, so that concludes the meeting at 7:50.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for coming. Take care of your phone.